Welcome to another episode of the Burg Podcast, where we talk about all things Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Also known as the Hub City or just the Burg, Hattiesburg is a bustling town in southern Mississippi. It's an educational, cultural, business, and medical hub for the region, and we're pleased to share stories from our community. On today's episode of the Burg Podcast, we explore the impact of therapy dogs on campus, share a powerful tale of loss, and delve into a transformative journey of self-discovery. First up, Abby Yankel interviews Melinda Lowry, the handler of Cash Money Honey, a therapy dog who makes frequent visits to the campus of USM.
I'm Abby Yankel for the Burg Podcast. Today I'm interviewing Melinda Lowry, owner and handler of Cash Money, USM's very own on-campus therapy dog. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. So what's the story behind Cash's origin as a therapy dog? How did he get started in this line of work?
Well, he actually the whole thing started before I even got him. Back in the early 2000s, I came in contact with therapy dogs at St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis. One of our friends treated there, and then we've volunteered as runners and fundraisers for a long time at St. Jude. So we've been around that. And so anyway, when we visited there, the patient, I came in contact with the St. Jude Doggy Days program. In the back of my mind, my kids were younger and everything, so I knew I couldn't do it then. But I thought, one of these days, I want to do that. And just kind of stayed in the back of my mind. I started researching it, how therapy dogs, how they benefit students and the elderly population, like in homes and hospitals. And I was kind of like, oh, this is really something I want to do. So then in 2019, I started researching where would be a good place to get a dog, what kind of dog would be great. I think like 60%, I forgot how many therapy animals are golden retrievers. So anyway, I started researching that and found a breeder who actually does want her dogs to be therapy dogs. Cash's mom is a therapy animal. She works at Le Bonheur in Memphis. And so once I found her, she was a reputable breeder. She really wants her dogs to go to people who will use them as therapy dogs. So that's kind of how that started. And then we got him, and he was just born for it. He's got the genetics. You just knew he was going to be good. She picked out the calmest dog in the litter, she said, and she knew I was very serious about it. And so he responded so well. We started training at that point.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. I love how it's kind of like a family history type thing. That's really interesting. So how did you start bringing Cash to campus as a therapy dog? Did you plan it with the university, or was it something that just kind of happened on its own?
Kind of both. So when I got him, I just started researching where you could take a dog that wasn't a service dog. So I started taking him to all the dog-friendly places in Hattiesburg. And then I thought, it was during COVID, and I thought, I bet the students would really like this. I had a son in college at that time, and I thought, I bet the students would like this because they're not really socializing with each other. And so but they could pet a dog. And so, but I didn't know how USM would respond to that. So I made a few phone calls, and they just seemed to just not even care it's a public campus. So I just got told, bring him on. It's a public campus. Do what you want to do. You can train him here and that sort of thing. So I ended up getting him a little vest saying that he was a therapy dog in training, and the students just, it was the best place to train him because I knew I couldn't take him to hospitals yet or like assisted livings because he needed to be certified. USM was a great place where there's a ton of people, and he didn't have to be certified to bring him on campus. I knew the students, they were just the best. They responded so well that we just kept bringing him here until he got certified. So that's kind of how that worked out. It was great.
That's so great. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So I know when you see Cash, he's kind of doing his own thing around campus, but do y'all ever work or collaborate with any campus groups or attend any campus events here at USM?
We do. So once we got certified or registered as a therapy dog, we had a contact in the general counsel's office that sent Cash's name and my contact information to pretty much all the departments, So after that, especially the like the mental health section, and they've been using him like for like the you'll have the mental health day in October, the business Sienna Hall, they are always having little events and they invite him to that. He's been in Asbury Hall for the nursing students. So everybody that asks for him will do it. You know?
Okay.
Yeah,
so you can kind of count on him being there.
Yeah, he's been asked to GU Week and several different things. So if he gets asked, we try to do everything.
Super cool. All right. Would you say that the campus staff and teachers connect as well with Cash as the students do, or is he more of a student resource?
I think that the staff is warming up to him. And I really think they do connect with him too. I mean, some of them I get looks every now and then like, what are you doing? You've got a bunch of students around. And so they'll walk by and go, I wonder what that's going on there. But when they find out, I think they love it. In fact, we've had a couple of professors in Sienna Hall that have invited him in before test, invited him into the classroom. We've been in the classroom in Asbury. Once, especially if they're dog people, they understand that the dog can lower anxiety, lower the stress levels, make their students happy, so they kind of get into it too. I wish more of them would, I wish we had a whole staff of dogs, but anyway, that's another story.
Okay, so, and with that, how do you handle situations when someone is kind of nervous or unsure about interacting with Cash?
So we do have students that are afraid of big dogs. I mean, he's a big dog with big teeth. Mm-hmm. So if I see that someone is nervous or they're like, especially if I walk up on someone, I will just immediately pull him back and tell them I'm sorry. We will go the other way. I don't ever want to. He's a therapy dog, supposed to lower stress and anxiety. So I don't want to cause any stress and anxiety. So we just move away. If they say, well, no, it's okay, then I'll just kind of reassure them. He is a therapy dog. He will not bite. He is a good boy, but I don't ever try to push him on anybody, especially if they've had trauma with big dogs before. We just want to leave that alone. And since he's not a service dog, I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable with him being around. So if they feel uncomfortable, we're moving out of their way.
So can you share a moment when you felt particularly proud of Cash, or a moment where you felt he fulfilled his role as a therapy dog?
Let me think on that one. Because there's just so many, but and there is. It's just almost every time we're on campus, when I hear somebody say it happened on Monday, they'll be petting Cash. You can tell maybe they're just having a bad day or whatever. And then Monday, a guy was petting him, and I said, "How's your day going?" He says, "Better now." In that little moment, I know we've done something, and that happened also. We were at the hospital last week and they were having an event. He volunteers at Forest General, and they were having an event, and a visitor walked by. She was visiting a patient, I suppose. And I said, she started petting Cash. She had tears in her eyes. And I said, how's your day going? And she's just not good. And she just kept petting him. She goes, but this is helping. And I just knew, just let her have her moment. And there's so many moments like that where this is what we're doing this for. Just a quiet moment.
Well, that's really sweet. So sweet. Why do you think it's important to have a resource such as a therapy dog here on campus?
I think it's important because we need everything that we can get on this campus from our mental health, right? The students just need that. I feel like y'all are under so much pressure, even more pressure than, I feel like it's so much worse than when I was in college. I do. And I think we need all types of resources. And if we can get things like therapy dogs have been proven to lower stress and anxiety, especially like for the students that live on campus. You have pets at home, but you don't have them here. When you see that dog, it reminds you of home. It brings those good feelings out. It lowers your stress. You're like, oh, this is why you have a pet, but you can't have it. Unless you have an ESA, you don't have them here. And so I just feel like that's just something else that we can use as a tool to make the students happy, make them feel happier, relieve the stress. I think it brings people together. They see Cash and they're like happy and, hey, Cashy, So I just think it's just one more tool. and I'd like to see the program grow. I would like to see more dogs.
I'm sure Cash loves all the attention he's
Oh,
getting.
goodness gracious. Yes, he's such an attention hog.
So have you noticed any changes or improvements in the campus community since you started working on campus here?
I feel like I have. Of course, it's probably just because when we started here, we were, it was the middle of COVID, and everybody just seemed so down. I mean, the mood was just not good. I mean, you've got people that are taking online classes. You've got people not wanting to socialize because they're wearing masks. And so I do feel like from that day that we started here, like in 2021 to now, I mean, and it may have a little to do with Cash, as far as like, it's just happy. I mean, everybody, when I see y'all, most people are happy to see Cash. So y'all are just bubbly and happy and glad to see him. It's nice to be able to bring a smile to people's faces. And it's nice to see people talking about him and just relating to each other because that spirit of community.
So I know Cash has kind of become like a little influencer, especially among like the student body. So how would you say you use social media or other platforms to talk about mental health and encourage people to get involved and receive that help when they need it?
That's what I try to do with his Instagram. It's fun. It's kind of hard for me because I'm older and don't really have the social media skills to do it. But I just try to, I want to make mental health a conversation that everybody needs to have. That if somebody's having a bad day, they can just tell somebody they're having a bad day, that they can get help for their bad day. They can seek help with the treatment that we have or the resources we have available on campus. I want it to be so common to be able to talk about your mental health. If you had a broken arm, you would be so willing to tell me what happened and, oh yeah, I fell down. But if you're going through a mental health struggle, people just don't want to share that. I want this to be something where somebody can say, well, I'm having a mental health struggle and here's where you need to go. I just would like it to be so common. Oh yeah, I am. And I need to go get some help for that instead of hiding it or feeling, just like they need to keep it within themselves. And that's where, if you keep it to yourself, that's where the problem occurs. That's where things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right. My last question.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. That was great. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a therapy dog handler or someone who wants to start a similar initiative on their campus?
I would just say you can do it. There are so many dogs out there that would make great therapy dogs. You don't need to pay Cash. He was a purebred. I did pay quite a bit for him. And, but you don't have to do that. You can go to a shelter, pick out a dog that, just see how it responds to different people and go for it. You can go online to Pet Partners, which is the organization that I'm with, and see what it takes to kind of what the behaviors that they need to have. And I would hope that other campuses would be as responsive as Southern Miss has been. They have been absolutely wonderful in responding to us and saying, yes, please bring him on, and Blaze, the other dog that we have. So, but I would just encourage them to go for it. Do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm Abby Yankel for the Burg podcast.
Next up, Anna Pierce shares a powerful story of drunk driving and losing a loved one.
Hi, I'm Anna Pierce for the Burg podcast. My grandfather's scream still haunts me to this day as my 10-year-old self stood lonesome in the lobby in the funeral home. As I am telling the story, I can hear his cries replaying in my head. I could not physically see him, but I remember my anxiety building up so high just waiting for the moment for my granddad to see my uncle, and there it happened. At such a young age, I experienced grief for the first time ever. I felt my grandfather's heartbreak. My uncle had a history of drinking. He just could not stop. My family says he was stressing my granddad out tremendously. My granddad was always wondering where he was, what he was doing, if he was getting in trouble. May 19th, 2012. My father's phone rings. "Oh my God," my father said as his eyes widened just moments after answering his telephone call. He looked stunned, not in a good way. His eyes kept cutting back and forth at me. Yeah, I'll keep her here. He lowered his phone and looked in my direction. He sighed. Your Uncle Gary has died in an accident, he softly said to me. My stepmother looked at me. Are you okay? She asked. Yeah, I'm fine. I was very confused. I do not remember much after that night. There are various holes in my memory. I feel I have blocked them out on purpose. Talking to my mother later in life, I was informed a nurse was called to have to come give my grandfather medicine in order to calm him down. My heart aches, wondering when the time came for everyone to have to go home, the silence that now made its way in my grandfather's house. I wondered, was he even able to sleep that night if my mother stayed where I stayed? I do not remember. Identifying the vehicle was dreadful. On the way to see it, the ride was silent. What once was a beautiful, shiny Corvette was now completely demolished. It was unrecognizable. After reviewing the vehicle, the materialistic things were handed to my mother. No parent expects to have to bury their own child before their own death occurs. I was standing in the lobby of the funeral home whenever I asked my mom, "Can I see him?" I think it's best if you stay out here. I want you to remember your uncle for what he looked like before the accident, she said. You see, when he wrecked, his car flipped multiple times. And if anyone's wondering, it was a one-person accident. No other person was harmed. My sister was the last person he had talked to. That haunts her to this day. She tells me that the last few text messages she had received were unreadable. She could tell they were attempted sentences, but all she could see were letters with symbols in the mixture. It wasn't until later that she had found out he had been killed. I was only 10. However, as I got older and began to understand more about mental health, alcoholism, and my family's history, I wondered, was it an accident? He was an alcoholic, yes. However, my sister informed me there were no skid marks on the road from where he could have attempted to brake. Like I said, I do not know. He was severely drunk that day. I wish he had gotten help. He was loved by so many. When my uncle was alive, he would always randomly come to the door of the first bedroom knocking and say, I just want to let you know I'm praying for you. Laugh and exit the room. It would make me so angry as a 9-year-old for some reason. He was simply a jokester. He loved me, my mom says. He loved all of us. I wish he was still alive because I know we would be best friends at the age I am now. My mother tells me he loved vinyl. He loved 80s rock music, and he was known as the cool guy in high school. It makes me sad while writing this. It happened so long ago that I barely think about it. However, when I really think about how I'll never get the chance to see him again, it makes me very sad. Drunk driving is so selfish. I can say that even though he did it causing his own life. He was unhappy, and yet so many people do it every day. I encourage people to really think about your life, others, and their families before drinking and getting behind the wheel, because one simple mistake can cause a lifetime of regret. I'm Anna Pierce for the Burg podcast.
Lastly, Dejanay Tolbert sat down with the USM Dean of Students, Dr. Serena Cantrell, as she shares her story of finding the right path for her.
The University of Southern Miss Dean of Students, Dr. Serena Cantrell, has worked hard to get to where she is today. For the longest time, Dr. Cantrell thought she wanted to pursue a career as a high school basketball coach and a high school counselor. She earned an undergrad degree in psychology and a master's in school counseling. An internship made her realize this was not the career path she wanted to pursue.
I did a year-long internship at Starkville High School, it's North Mississippi, for a year, and it was not what I wanted it to be. I didn't do any counseling. I did all state testing, making sure my one student stayed out of fights. It was just not what I wanted it to be.
After realizing this wasn't the right fit for her, she worked in housing at Mississippi State as an RLC. Then she moved to Wisconsin, where she was a housing hall director for 7 years. She found her way back to Mississippi, where she took a position as Director of Housing at Mississippi University for Women in Columbus. She was promoted to Dean of Students during her time there. Although she was happy about the promotion, She wanted to work at a bigger university.
The school I worked at in Columbus, the W, is about 2,500 students, and this is 15,000. So I kind of wanted to experience a bigger school.
She finds passion in her current role because she is not limited. She has opportunities where she can use her counseling skills and create connections with students by helping them through hardships or even figuring out a career path. Each day comes with a different obstacle.
For example, for Tuesday this week, all we did was plan and talk about weather. So I didn't do anything else but that. And then Wednesday we closed. And so it just kind of depends. And then on Monday I had a student emergency, and that took my whole day.
It took Dr. Cantrell some time to get to where she is now, but in the end, it paid off because she has the chance to do what she really loves. I'm Dejanay Talbert reporting for the Burg Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Burg Podcast. This podcast is totally produced by students in Dr. Dave Davies' MCJ 344 podcasting class in the School of Media and Communication at the University of Southern Mississippi. Producers for this episode are Madison Calkins, Sydney Stokes, Michaelan Williams, and Denari Washington. Music from Upbeat. See the link in our About page for more information. Cover artwork by Madison Calkins and Greta Graves.